Thieves will steal our cars, our valuables, just about anything they can get their hands on. To cut down on crime and antisocial behaviour, the police and other agencies are using new tactics and technology, where the bad guys are getting caught in the act.
CCTV was vital.
You can see they are definitely the people there.
The camera doesn't lie.
Local councils, shops and businesses are laying some traps of their own.
There's a eureka moment when you get that evidence.
And the general public too can help unsuspecting crooks get their comeuppance.
People won't stand by.
I couldn't sit back and do nothing.
Yes, we've got her.
So, anyone who's up to no good had better think twice. They might just get caught red-handed. Today, a woman steps between rival football fans to try to stop a fight.
There's a gap in the middle. I looked at it and thought, I could probably calm this down.
But she's only 5'2", and with tensions rising, she's in danger.
Something was brewing up to happen, you can feel that.
Also today, a robber with a gun demands money, but surprises his victims by asking nicely.
And he actually is quite polite, and he says, please open up the cash register.
But there's nothing nice about what he's doing. And a plan to steal a £4,000 electrical generator comes unplugged, thanks to people power. Lime Street Station, Liverpool. It's just gone 7:30 on a Sunday evening. A football match between Liverpool and Manchester City ended hours ago. Most of the fans have made their way home. All is calm. But suddenly, everything changes as groups of rival fans start to build up at the station.
There was just an atmosphere, you could just, you can just feel something in the air.
And some of them are intent on causing trouble.
It was intensifying, and I've never seen anything like this happen.
Cameras capture what's happening, and police race to the scene to stop the troublemakers.
Completely unacceptable. So it's got to be intimidating and frightening for people.
But police need to get there before the jostling and scuffles turn into a full-scale fight. Lime Street is Liverpool's largest and oldest train station. Thousands of people pass through here every day. Rachel is a shift station manager.
Basically, I'm in charge of the day-to-day running of the station. I enjoy my job because it's something different every day and keeps me busy, keeps me on my toes as well.
Some of the busiest times are during the football season.
On match days, we expect a lot more people on the station, travelling to and from.
The majority of fans are well behaved, but sometimes a small minority try to cause trouble, so the British Transport Police escort fans and keep a close eye on them.
The policing of football fans is a massive part of what we do on a day-to-day, week-to-week basis.
Chief Inspector Malcolm McKinnon has over 25 years of experience dealing with football crowds.
The pre-planned organised violence we found in the 70s and 80s still happens, but not to the degree it once did. What we found now is it's changed to low-level antisocial behaviour. Often the chanting, the use of swear words, really the sort of loutish, boorish type behaviour that's intimidating and frightening.
And there's always a danger that rowdy behaviour can turn violent. But cameras help police to identify the culprits so they can bring charges against them and impose football banning orders.
We get tremendous evidence from CCTV.
The cameras at Lime Street cover most of the station, and one Sunday evening in April, they prove how useful they can be. Rachel has just started her shift.
It's normally quite quiet of a Sunday, and I've worked about the station for 10 years, and I've never seen anything like this happen.
A match between Liverpool and Manchester City finished 4 hours ago, after a home side win. The police have already escorted the crowd safely away. But small groups of rival fans have hung around in the city and arrive at the station much later. Just after 7:30 p.m, they come face to face at the station entrance. Innocent bystanders are fearful when fans inside the station start to taunt the rival fans outside.
And they were just swearing at each other, shouting at each other.
It's starting to be intimidating, antagonistic, but very rarely does it escalate into actual violence.
Police are on their way, but the situation very quickly deteriorates.
It was brewing up.
On the station concourse, this fan in white shoes is attacked by the man with grey sleeves. The headbutt leaves the victim bleeding. Back at the entrance, a Liverpool fan walks up behind the Man City group. Ignoring the innocent passers-by, he throws a punch. The man responsible for the headbutt piles in.
Completely unacceptable. It's got to be intimidating and frightening for people.
The brawl escalates and spills onto the main concourse. Shift station manager Rachel rushes over to try and calm the situation herself.
When I got there, it was like 2 rows of people, like some sort of stand-up. I was trying to reason with the fans, like saying, come on, you don't want to be getting into trouble.
But the jeering continues, so Rachel, who's not much over 5 foot in height, makes the remarkable decision to jump between the 2 groups.
There's a gap in the middle. I looked at it and thought, I could probably calm this down. Like, if someone wants to listen to me, there's normally one normal person in them situations.
But it seems this bunch don't want to listen to reason.
I seen a punch, like, coming over me. I thought, that's it, get out of the way.
And Rachel is determined to keep members of the public out of harm's way.
I was shouting to the public and some of the staff to just get out of the way. I didn't want anyone involved. More punches were being thrown. It was like coming from all sides.
Then the transport police arrive. As they run in, they see a man being struck with such force he falls over. One officer bravely wrestles the aggressor to the floor. That fight is stopped, but the situation could still spread out of control.
This is an extremely dangerous position for officers to be in, surrounded, and there's always that danger of being assaulted.
The officers are being pushed and shoved, but are determined to block more fighting.
As my officer is doing this, he gets punched himself to the side of the head.
When more officers arrive, the fans are finally calmed down. Fortunately, no one was badly hurt.
The sense of relief when they arrived was a good feeling.
The police make an arrest and the groups disperse. Less than 10 minutes after the violence began, Sunday evening at the station is back to normal. But that's not the end of it.
From that point, investigation begins. So we review the CCTV.
Now the police investigators get to work. They analyse the footage of how the incident built up to identify and track down the individuals responsible.
That first man is a Man City fan, and this is an offender affiliated to Liverpool. So you've got a headbutt straight into the face. That is one of the initiators to what then escalates into violent disorder.
The man with grey sleeves is just one of 4 men they identify as the troublemakers.
There were 2 Liverpool-based fans and 2 Manchester-based fans.
So the blame is shared between supporters from both teams. 2 of the offenders instigated trouble at the entrance. One of them was the man who punched someone violently just as the police arrived. The 4th punched another fan while he wasn't looking. They are all eventually arrested and charged with a fray.
The 4 of them entered guilty pleas, and that's really a result and testament to the evidence that was gathered.
2 of the men received prison sentences, suspended for 2 years. They are also given football banning orders. They can't attend or travel to matches for 3.5 years. The other 2 were given community orders, ordered to do unpaid work and to pay surcharges. The British Transport Police is committed to cracking down on football-related crime.
The challenge we have is that we can't let a culture build up. It's unacceptable behaviour.
They've set up a text service and phone number so anyone experiencing antisocial behaviour can report it straight away.
What we're really encouraging is a text service, 61016. We're trying to empower people to come forward, report incidents as they happen so we can respond to them and we can do something about this behaviour.
Back at Lime Street, Rachel, who bravely put herself at risk trying to keep her station safe, is grateful that British Transport Police are ready to respond so quickly.
If the police wouldn't have turned up when they did, it probably would have escalated and there would have been a lot more fights. I can't believe I was standing in the middle of it, to be honest.
Rachel's job meant she felt personally involved. Even so, she's surprised at the risk she took. But what about you and me? What should we do if we find ourselves caught in the middle if an everyday situation turns scary?
Try not to intervene. It's very difficult as an individual to kind of calm a large group of people down.
Planning an escape route, or perhaps look into where the exits might be, so that if you need to get there quickly, you can do so.
Call the police. Don't assume that someone else is going to do so. We would rather have a call from every single person there, because everyone's going to have that little bit of a different piece of information for us.
You might not be able to kind of get out of that situation completely, but crowds operate in a particular way. There's usually a core of individuals who are causing difficulties, and then there'll be a lot of onlookers. So if you could position yourself on the outskirts of those onlookers.
If possible, try and record the incident as it unfolds, or take notes about what the offenders look like, and you can provide all of this information to the police.
If you wanted to avoid suspicion, you'd think you'd avoid parking your getaway vehicle outside a security firm specialising in CCTV systems. Well, not this pair. A van parks right beneath a sign that says, "Warning, 24/7 filming. You are being recorded." Maybe they haven't noticed it, or maybe they have fake plates and just don't care. Whatever the reason, these two men disappear into the backyard of a tool hire company and reappear, trolleying this £4,000 generator, which they are, let's say, borrowing without permission. When another man walks past, they drop the generator smartish and sidle around the back of the van in a "nothing going on here, mate" manner. But their suspicious behaviour alerts a builder on some scaffolding nearby. When he shouts out to them, they decide to power off down the road. The tool hire staff come to reclaim their generator, and their security firm neighbours find they have the whole thing recorded, and the footage is passed to the police. A search for the van and the two men has so far yielded nothing. Maybe they're keeping a low profile to avoid generating too much attention. Coming up, a mysterious Christmas visitor at a family-run pub. One of Santa's helpers coming laden with gifts? Nope, he's on his way out with them.
Someone had been in our bedroom. We then realised that the Christmas presents were missing.
Can the cameras help catch the crook who stole Christmas? But first, another crime in the holiday season, just after Christmas, and another unwanted visitor. But this man is armed and dangerous. It's just gone 6 AM on New Year's Eve in a village shop and post office in Surrey. A couple are preparing for the day's trading when a man walks in from the darkness outside. He has a gun. And in an instant, a quiet morning turns into a terrifying ordeal. The robber binds their wrists with cable ties and steals what he can before switching off the lights, leaving the terrified couple in the dark. Detective Constable Adam Hewitt has been in the force for nearly 10 years. He works at Reigate Police Station in Surrey.
We deal with any type of crime that you can imagine. There'll be a small amount of it. It's quite a low volume, and certainly something like an armed robbery is very rare.
But it can happen, even in the rural peace of the Surrey countryside. And in the early morning of New Year's Eve, it does happen.
At 7 AM I was told as soon as I got into my desk that an armed robbery had just occurred.
Adam is called to a small village post office. It's a dramatic start to his duty, but it's been a terrifying start to the day for the victims, as the shop's CCTV shows.
When you open up a small store at 6 AM in a rural location, pitch black outside, the last thing you expect is to be confronted by someone with a gun.
The people in the shop are checking the day's newspapers when the robber enters, locking the front door behind him. The couple are horrified to see the man has a gun.
He instructs the chap to tie up his partner using the cable ties that he hands him.
The robber then also ties the wrists of the man tight with cable ties. What happens next is unusual for a robbery. The victims are in shock, but the woman stands up to the gunman.
He then says, "Can you open up the cash register. The shopkeeper, she says, "Say please," and he actually is quite polite and he says, "Please open up the cash register." When you rationally think about it, you should never respond like that to someone that's got a gun. But she just did it. It came out automatically because obviously she wasn't thinking rationally. She was in a state of panic.
The robber empties the till and steals rolls of lottery scratch cards and packets of cigarettes. He then leaves the couple, still tied up, and turns the lights off. The woman was affected badly by the ordeal.
The chap had a gun and he was demanding things from her. Understandably, she was incredibly traumatised.
Apart from the cost of any money or goods stolen, there's an emotional cost to the victims of robbery. The couple here are so affected by what happened, they'd rather not be identified. But not far away, there's a woman who experienced a similar armed robbery in another small Surrey post office. Only now does Georgina feel able to describe the lasting effects of suddenly finding herself staring down the barrel of a gun.
We ran the post office and village shop for 18 years. It's such a small little place. The last thing I would have ever expected is an armed robber to tear in through that door one day.
Thankfully, their children were at school on the morning of the raid. Georgina was in the shop while her husband Paul was in the house making coffee.
A man came through the door holding a gun with a balaclava over his head. He shouted out, "Get on the floor." At which point I said no, wasn't going to go down on the floor. What did he want? He wanted the money from the post office.
Georgina's first impulse was to try to escape.
I ran through the door to the house, hoping to cut him off and shut the door, but he pushed it open. At that time, he had the gun actually pointing right between my eyes. There was no question about disobeying him after that.
The gunman forced her to open the safe and he escaped with thousands of pounds. Georgina survived the ordeal, but it certainly took its toll.
One thing that really haunted me was all of the circles, the circle of the gun and the circle of the eyes where the balaclava was cut. Often I would wake up in the night and see circles. Your greatest fear is whether it's going to happen again, particularly with children sleeping under the same roof. That's your biggest fear.
The man who robbed Georgina was never caught. But back at the village shop in Surrey, DC Adam Hewitt has high hopes of catching the armed robber who terrorised these two people on the morning of New Year's Eve. He's just finished reviewing the footage of the armed raid when he gets a breakthrough. A member of the public has found the robber's gun a few hundred yards from the shop.
Our witness was walking along the road on his way to work, and he just saw it lying in the bushes, and he comes up to us and says, "I've just found this gun." We think, bingo.
It's an encouraging start for the investigation. The gun is sent off to forensics for analysis. The other useful evidence Adam has comes from the high-quality CCTV footage.
And that's a still image, the best image of his face, and you can see him clear as day.
The man's face is circulated to officers in the Surrey force, hoping someone can identify him. But after a couple of days,
it becomes obvious that no one knows who this person is.
And results come back from the forensic lab about the gun. It turns out it's an air gun and it provides no further evidence. Adam decides to widen the investigation. He makes an appeal to members of the public in the local media. He also starts looking at crimes committed in other areas. There were a few unusual things about this robber that may mean he's been noticed elsewhere.
It's unusual that he was quite a polite robber in a sense. He does say, "Please tie up your partner, please open the till."
He also used cable ties and wore a distinctive hat. Adam finds similarities in a couple of other armed robberies to the north in the Croydon area of London.
Things started to show parallels. The politeness, the clothes that he wore were very similar in every single one. And we decided it must be the same person.
But those robberies are still unsolved, and Adam's no nearer to finding the man's name. He decides to spread the net even wider.
We decided we'd do a national media appeal. We got lots of high-quality images of his face at different angles. If you knew the person, seen that CCTV, you'd be able to point them out straight away.
Adam's national television appeal pays off. Several people phone in and put a name to the face. It's 28-year-old Daniel Brady.
It's a huge relief, you know, that's what you work for, is to know that we're going to eventually arrest the right person and we're going to be able to charge them and put them in front of a court.
Brady is arrested, charged and pleads guilty to 2 robberies, 1 attempted robbery and firearms offences. They're such serious crimes, he's given a life sentence. Adam's pleased to solve all 3 crimes.
It's an excellent result, yeah. The CCTV was at such good quality and it was better than the other 2, but we were able to link all 3 together because of the similarities.
Daniel Brady may have been recognised as the robber who said please, but these shopkeepers and others are just saying thank you, he's off the streets. Even in the season of giving, it seems there are those who are more interested in taking. And a publican's Christmas is almost ruined when a couple of crooks decide to fill their stockings with his gifts. Christmas Day at a pub in Derby.
The atmosphere is always lovely. It's just a happy time.
But later that evening, the warm Christmas cheer turns chilly when the landlords living upstairs make a discovery.
Someone had been in our bedroom.
They've been burgled.
And then goes my Christmas presents.
But the pub's CCTV provides some fascinating viewing.
A burglary on Christmas Day, it's quite heartfelt really. So the whole team got stuck in from the very start.
Graham and his wife Jeanette have run the 5 Lamps pub in Derby for 5 years.
It's meant quite a lot to us. We had another pub before this, it was in the countryside, so we thought we'd bring the country to the city. It's gone really well.
So well that within a couple of years they won an award.
Our main thing is our cask ales, and we don't have any trouble here.
And he certainly doesn't expect to have any trouble over the Christmas season. It's the happiest time of the year for them.
My wife loves Christmas. She pesters me in November to start putting the tree up. She's just Christmas mad.
But this Christmas is one they won't forget. In their flat above the pub, landlord Graham and his family start Christmas morning in the traditional way.
Santa came to visit. My wife and I and mother-in-law who lives with us opened our presents, had a little bit of breakfast and then prepared to open the pub.
They leave the presents on their bed in the flat, then go downstairs to spend a few hours celebrating with their customers.
It's just a happy time, an amazing atmosphere.
They close early at 3 p.m. so they can go and visit the rest of their family.
Our son came to collect us. We've got 3 grandchildren in Derby, so we take their presents for them, had a lovely dinner, a lovely afternoon, and then came home.
They're back in their own flat at the pub by 9 p.m. Graham's wife decides to make a call.
My wife decided that she would look for a phone to give our son a ring and just say thank you for a lovely dinner.
But she can't find her phone.
We were watching something quite interesting on TV, so she came back and watched till the next break. She went back to the office, couldn't find it.
She checks her handbag.
She realised a purse was missing as well.
They're alarmed and search the whole flat.
We then realised that the Christmas presents were missing from where we'd left them that morning. Someone had been in our bedroom.
Graham had an array of security cameras fitted when they first moved in. He watches back his recorded CCTV to see if he can work out what happened.
I took it right back to the beginning of the day because we didn't know at what stage anything had gone missing, and I realised that it was at the stage when we were just closing up from the lunchtime session.
It's just a few minutes before closing. Graham and Jeanette are clearing tables. A man and woman walk through the pub's outside seating area and up to the door that leads inside. The man takes a look through the door but doesn't go in.
They come onto this bit, which is our outside area. She stays out there rolling a cigarette and he goes inside.
He goes through the door and straight into the gents.
He's in there for 30 seconds, then he comes out. He then checks out the ladies' toilets, looks inside, realises the same thing.
He sneakily peers over the bar.
Just at this stage, trying to see who was around, and obviously spotted me at this stage.
He walks back out to the woman. The man heads around the front of the pub to the other side. The woman is close behind.
And you see him walk along towards the back gate, through the gates, across our small service yard.
The kitchen staff would normally see anyone crossing this yard, but the kitchen's closed for Christmas.
And then through the door, and then from there it's upstairs to our accommodation where we live.
A few minutes later, the man rushes out with his hands full.
There he goes, and there are my Christmas presents and my wife's phone and purse.
It's a nasty surprise to discover someone's been in their home.
We were hurt and upset that someone had actually been into our own private accommodation. Mine was more a feeling of anger. One, at myself because of the door being open, but two, it's just how dare they.
Even more upsetting is the realisation that Graham's wife and mother-in-law were upstairs at exactly the same time as the burglar.
My wife had gone upstairs to give my mother-in-law a call to go for dinner. So the chances are at that stage he was probably in our bedroom.
It's sheer luck she didn't come face to face with the thief. Graham calls the police.
They were very sympathetic, took all the details, watched the CCTV.
Keen to get the intruder caught quickly, Graham captures some still images from the camera footage.
The policeman asked me if I could email them to him so he could put them out on the morning watch.
Which Graham does. First thing on Boxing Day morning, Detective Constable Tony Fox arrives at work. He sees the crime reports.
A burglary on Christmas Day, it's quite heartfelt, really. You can relate to it yourself. It's a time when it should be a happy day. So it's obviously a good investigation to work on, and one that the whole team got stuck into from the very start.
Tony looks at images of the burglar and recognises a familiar face.
I knew straight away who it was, recognised it to be somebody I've dealt with on numerous occasions.
They head straight round to the man's address.
Time is of the essence. We need to go make the arrest as early as possible in the hope of recovering any stolen property.
The man and woman are shocked to suddenly find the police on their doorstep.
They didn't expect to see police quite so early on in the morning, and especially on Boxing Day. We found items of clothing which matched what they were wearing on the CCTV, and also we found items of property which belonged to the victims.
Unfortunately, some items like Graham's wife's phone and purse are missing, but the other Christmas presents are rescued, less than 24 hours after they were taken.
By 9 o'clock we'd got 2 under arrest for the burglary and recovered some stolen property, so quite a swift time.
In court, the man and woman plead guilty. He is given an 18-month prison sentence, suspended for 18 months, and she is given 8 months, also suspended. Graham has now improved security at the pub, including a keypad lock on the door to the yard.
So everyone can still get out easily, but anyone not knowing the code can't get in.
Hopefully, when the tree next goes up in November, it will be the start of a Christmas that's happier than this year's.
We're hoping that next year we can go back and try to put behind us what happened this year, because we just love Christmas Day.
That's it for today. Join us next time when police and the public catch more criminals red-handed.